So hello, everybody. My 10 minutes of fame, right? So I'm the founder and CEO at Push2Test. We make an open source test solution that integrates Selenium and then enables our customers and our community to repurpose those functional tests to be load and performance tests as well as production monitors. Most of the customers that are buying the enterprise version of our open source test tool have already adopted agile processes within their software development team, but they've always forgotten about load and performance testing. So they wind up with a big library of Selenium tests that work great as functional tests, but then they can't go anywhere. They have to tend to rewrite them to be load and performance tests. So what we do is make it easy for them to do that kind of migration and repurpose those tests. And these customers are like Best Buy and Pepsi. They're all big organizations. So great going Selenium that you've created a marketplace for us. That's my appreciation. One of the things that I've noticed, though, is that as the software development community, we're all kind of like hiring lots of engineers to really try and automate these applications in a way that makes them testable. And it's kind of like being the mouse in the little garden who's trying to spin his wheel as fast as he can. Eventually, the mouse gets tired, and so do we as testers. The problem goes back about 15 years ago when Sun blew it with the Java Business Integration APIs. There's no way for the developers to kind of represent programmatically what their program is supposed to do. So it's up to us as developers to kind of make these rough approximations with Selenium of what the application is supposed to do and to drive the app, and it's never precise. What's worse is that the proprietary test tool vendors for the last 15 years or so, and I'm thinking specifically about HP's Mercury product set, convinced all of the business managers out there that record and playback was the way to go. So you have these test tools like QTP that they're the best that money can buy, but they still fall short of being able to really do automation because they're also just trying to approximate what the application is doing. There have been great innovations of late, like page objects within the Selenium community to try and bring some sanity back to this. But there's still this $2 billion behemoth that's making this promise still that if you just believe in record and playback, that everything will be fine. So what I find is weird about the Selenium community is that the entry point to Selenium says use Selenium IDE, right? And then let's talk about object-oriented test script development. So it's not only the proprietary test tool vendors who've kind of sold a bill of goods to the business managers, it's also the Selenium project itself who's doing itself no favor by saying that record and playback in Selenium IDE is a good thing. I don't think it is. So what you'll find on the Push2Test site is not only test tools that do record and playback, but also support an object-oriented approach at building test scripts. And that's why I've reached out to people like Adam Gutscher to record like webinars on page objects. It's because I see this as just being a continuum, just some sort of solution that we can all approach testing in a more reliable, maintainable way over time. The thing that I have noticed, though, is that there are a whole bunch of testers that will never get into coding. And so for them, we've developed a tool called the TestMaker Object Designer. I'm figuring that there's like a tipping point at some point between where record and playback makes sense and then when you should tip over into coding. And so what I'm trying to do with the designer is to make that tipping point a little bit further away for the tester who doesn't know how to code. Does that make sense? Okay. So what we've developed is a tool itself that ships as part of the TestMaker system. So I can create a new functional test here and then represent a use case by defining the different steps of the test. The test type itself could be any type of test. So we have script runners for Selenium and Sahi for writing unit tests in Java or PHP or Ruby. We also support SOAP-UI and even the new HAR, the HTTP archive format. You can turn HAR files into tests. So what happens is if I had a Selenium script already, I could run it within Selenium RC by just browsing out to where the script is. I'm just going to pick any old file here. And then I can choose which browser I want to run this in. But what I could also do is switch over to using HTML unit as the browser. Once I've done this, then under the test nodes tab here, I can add different nodes. These are essentially the runners. It's kind of like we're using Selenium Grid, but we're not. We're using the TestMaker system instead. These test nodes then run the scripts according to this test use case. And the use case could have multiple different steps to it. So I could run a Selenium script once and then run a JavaScript or a Java class next. So I can kind of mix and match depending on what would be best for my test. So the designer itself is this tool that lets you record and playback tests, and it does so in a variety of different browsers. So we support, I didn't install it on my Mac here, but we support recording in IE, recording in any of the WebKit browsers, so like Safari, Chrome, and we also support Opera. So when you go to tell it to record a test, it is going to bring up the browser that you choose. I'll just type this. And at this point, it's using a network proxy on the local machine to see the traffic that's going back and forth to the application. Let's see. I wonder if what we set up for the previous presenters thing is keeping me from doing this. So, okay, well, all right, let me try it again. Come on, Firefox, you want to come up? No, maybe not. Okay, well, the idea of the designer is that you can record and playback these test scripts from a variety of different browsers. And let me just open one that works here for web testing. This is a designer script that I created before. Man, it just doesn't like me tonight. Okay, there it is. The script itself is, can be in a variety of different languages. It supports, out of the box, Selenium 1, Sahi, as well as Flex. We're supporting the Flex automation APIs from Adobe, so you can do neat recording of hybrid applications. You know, those are apps that might have a bunch of Ajax components, but also a bunch of Flex components embedded within. So the neat thing about the designer is that it's multi-protocol. So like here's a test script that I wrote using the Sahi language, but if I wanted to switch over to Selenium, that's how hard it is. And I can go back and forth depending on which language is more appropriate for me. We wrote it in this way with the anticipation of supporting Selenium 2, so you'd be able to switch from Selenium 1.0 to Selenium 2 immediately. The other thing that we did is to make it so that you can do looping and branching and conditional execution within this environment. So I can add while statements. I can do go to if. I can set breakpoints, and all of this is like integrated into an environment that doesn't require me to code. So for the QTP user out there, this looks very familiar for them. The other thing that we did is to data enable this. So if I click over here on the data tab, you can browse out to the local file system, and then you can select the different data elements that you want to insert into your test. So by doing a drag and drop operation like that, we've now data enabled the test. There's one other thing that we've added, which is an evaluation command. That's because what we find is that the designer is really meant for kind of complicated Ajax applications. You might have an Ajax app that has like the TinyMCE editor component built into your page. TinyMCE has this huge API. You can, through that API, click on various characters or words or paragraphs within the TinyMCE editor, change its styling. All of that can be accessed through Selenium commands into the TinyMCE editor. So a lot of times you'll be, was that my time? Okay. So a lot of times you'll be working with Ajax apps where you want to call its APIs directly. The thing that I didn't show you is being able to repurpose this to be a load test and a a performance monitor. That's available if you wanted to take a look at our screencasts or the webinars that are coming up. Like next week is the open source test workshop that we host. All of these are free events. And then Push to Test is there available to provide professional services and consulting, and that's how we make our money. We've been profitable for 2 years now. We're at 14 people full-time, and we're hiring 6 more. So it seems to be working. And I thank you, Ashley, and thank you for having me here.